This is the Puck Junk Podcast.
Hello and welcome to the Puck Junk Hockey Podcast. I'm Sal Berry, and with me is Clemente Lisi. And today we're going to talk about the 2025-26 Flair Hockey card set. We're also going to talk about the second round of the 2026 Stanley Cup playoffs, and we're going to talk a little bit about the third round of the playoffs. So that's what's on the agenda for this episode. So Clemente, how you been doing these past couple of weeks? It's like we keep the planets keep not aligning, and then we just can't get an episode done. So it's been a bit.
It's been a bit, but we tend to always get together right after the end of one playoff round, which is good. So we're gonna talk about it. And so the playoffs, I think, have kept all of us a little bit busy in the evenings, on the weekends, watching. And it's funny because New York now is in the middle of a heat wave, but like a week ago it was freezing. So I don't know, like it's just a weird time of year. Things are changing, but the playoffs are a constant. So that's the good part.
Yeah, you know, the same with the weather here. It's been like in Chicago, like the previous weekend, it was like really nice on Saturday. Then it kind of got cold on Sunday, and then it was kind of like cold and rainy for like a couple of days. And then this week it's been warm, but like it's funny because it's like I think 1 week I had like 3 different jackets like out by my door. I had like my heavy coat, you know, because it got cold. It got down to like 30 degrees. And I'm like, well, I'll wear my winter coat for that. But then it got to like 60 degrees and we had like a 70-degree day. You know what I mean? Like we're just like all over the place. And I feel like the weather is like, you know, like you're going to be cold, but your armpits are still going to get sweaty. You know what I'm talking about?
Or you go out in the morning, you have a winter coat, and by the time you come home in the afternoon or evening, it's like, wow, it's 75 degrees. Now I'm sweating. You're right. It's absolutely true. And so May could be tricky, but I think it's going to be a very hot summer. And after we've all had a cold winter, especially on the East Coast, I kind of like the warm weather. So I'm all for that. It puts me in the mood for all the summer stuff that we expect every summer, including the National. So I can't wait. You know, one of those, I had a moment like that at the National. I think it was the National a couple of years ago. It was Chicago. And I remember like the doors open at the airport. It was like the movie Cool Runnings where it was like bitter cold, but it was the other way around. It was like 98 degrees and the doors open and this like hot air hit my face. And, you know, so Chicago's weird. It could be very cold. It could also be very, very hot. So.
Yeah, I mean, I remember 1 year it was like early June, it snowed. I remember I was like leaving work and it was like snowing, and I'm just like, it's June and it's snowing. It was like June 2nd or something. But yeah, it's but then again, I mean, we have hockey playoffs that go until like the middle of June now. So like it's okay, you know.
It's been like that for a while now. That hockey's gone this late into June. I mean, it was happening back in the 90s, but yeah, it is funny that you know, the basketball, NBA playoffs, and the NHL playoffs are almost in tandem. So you're both gonna crown a champion in June. But yeah, the playoffs have been really great. They never disappoint, I have to be honest.
Let's recap round 2 of the playoffs. We'll start in the West. So no surprises here, really. I mean, you had the Avalanche beat the Wild 4-1, and you had the Vegas Golden Knights beat the Ducks 4-2. I think if anything surprised me, it's the Wild losing in 5 games. I really thought that was going to be 6 or 7 games. I mean, it's easy to say, oh, I thought it was going to be this. I thought it was going to be that. That's why I don't like to make predictions, because I'm usually wrong. But
it's hard. No, it's hard. It's hard to do for sure.
But like, I didn't think the Wild were gonna, like, I was kind of disappointed in them, honestly. I thought, you know, they got Quinn Hughes. They seemed like they were a better team than when they started the season. Jesper Waldstedt was playing very well. It looked like he was going to be the guy. And then, yeah, usually like when the team starts, I don't know. I don't want to say when they start messing around with their goalie, because I feel like most Stanley Cup winning teams, they always seem to hit the spot where they go, yeah, our goalie wasn't doing well and somebody else had to step in, whether it was Spencer Knight filling in for Sergei Bobrovsky, or Scott Darling filling in for Corey Crawford, or maybe going back to even like the 90s where like the Penguins had a bunch of different goalies, and I think Tom Barrasso was injured, and I think they played like Wendell Young a couple of games. You know what I mean? Like there's always like, you either have Patrick Waugh, who just plays all your games no matter what, or you have a really good goaltender, but when he struggles, you have another really good goaltender that steps in and does well. But then at the same time, if they don't do well, then you have a team playing two goalies and it looks like they don't know what they're doing. And they're, like Don Cherry said, if you have two goalies, you got no goalies.
Well, okay. So then they have no goalies because, the coach Bednar has been basically relying on both goalies, on Blackwood and Wedgwood. Right. But and they've both been pulled at various points here. So that's the big question, I think, going forward is who you're going to go with. I think the tandem goalie thing works maybe during the regular season when you have a lot of tough games, but you got to pick your guy here. And as far as we can tell, they don't have that guy yet. Now we'll see what happens in the conference semis, but in the conference finals, but we'll see what happens going forward. But yeah, look, overall, we had four series here, and only one was super competitive, the Canadiens and Buffalo. We'll talk about that later. But
yeah.
So these were not tight. Maybe the Golden Knights and Anaheim were tight in the first four games, but then after that it wasn't, right? So these were not. These were pretty. Like you said, no surprises. But we also didn't see. It'd be nice to see more Game 7s here, but we didn't see that.
And like the Ducks, I think the Ducks were pleasant surprise.
They're competitive. I mean,
they were competitive. They made it to round 2, and they beat the Oilers. Come on, that's
I mean, I think they won their Stanley Cup right there. Look, look, the Golden Knights. I mean, did you see? I forgot what game it was, but that Mitch Marner goal. I mean,
oh my God! And he faked everybody out, and then he like put it between his feet, and
and then put it in, and let's not forget, like Marner's got this reputation of like totally collapsing in big games, and he showed up for this series, and that goal was like everywhere on SportsCenter. It was all over the internet. So like that's good for hockey and for the playoffs, and good for him and the Golden Knights in general. So I mean that was a great performance, and the Golden Knights have everything. They defend. I think the top 3 goal scorers in the playoffs are all Golden Knights, so they score big goals. I really do think that. The Golden Knights, I think, have an edge here. I've sensed that since the first round. I felt like they're just a good team, and so the Ducks are also, like I said, competitive, but they can't compete with the Golden Knights for sure.
Well, and that what was funny about that Marner goal is when they interviewed him, and he just, like, they said, how did you know to do that, or how did you do that? And he said, I don't know. He said, I was just covered really well, and I was just trying to get my shot off. But so what? It was more like he was trying to do this, and he had a defender, and he had the goalie, and he was just like almost like just trying to get.
It could have been a total epic fail had he like bobbled it and collapsed and all, but he just did it. It just worked. In the moment, he was on the fly. He did it, and that's a player with experience. He's the kind of player that he wins the Stanley Cup. It'd be nice to see because he's a very good player, and and now is just performing at a high level when you need it most, and that's really what it takes to win the Stanley Cup, I think, ultimately.
Yeah, and looking at the top goal scorers, you're right. Pavel Dorofeyev has 9 goals. Brett Howden has 8 goals, and Mitch Marner has 7. He's tied with Nathan McKinnon and Matt Boldy and Alex Newhook. More on him in a minute. And Logan Stankoven.
Right.
It's like this 5-way tie for third.
The
Ducks played above their pay grade, and the Wild, I felt like they could have done a little better. But I mean, then again, the Avalanche are the Avalanche. I mean, they were like they weren't like the President's Trophy winner by like a point. They were like the President's Trophy winner by like a lot of points. Like they had a pretty scary, sizable lead. I want to say it was like 10 points or 12 points. Don't quote me on that, but it was somewhere around there. It wasn't just like, oh, well, if they win this last game, then they'll be in first place. It was like they had it pretty much locked up.
Look, I'll say this: if the Avalanche can get their goaltending situation in order, this Avalanche Golden Knights series is going to be pretty epic.
But do they? I mean, okay, so they
or maybe they don't. Or maybe they don't. Maybe they keep going back and forth, and that gets them to the cup. It would be very unusual, but it can be done. I mean,
I mean, you gotta have. Yeah, I agree. It would be unusual, but I think the Avalanche. If the other thing too is that either goalie doesn't have to be. They have to be good. They don't have to be great. And I think when you're, I mean, like this is what I was like when I was like, I know everybody liked to pick on Stuart Skinner, and some people say, well, he got the Oilers to the finals 2 years in a row. It's like, no, he didn't.
He didn't get them. Yeah, exactly.
No, he was just there. But the thing is that like he wouldn't steal them a game. He wouldn't make the big save when they needed it. Whereas you think of like Aiden Hill a couple years back for the Golden Knights, like he played good and then he was able to be great when he needed to be great, but the team didn't need him to be great all the time. You know what I mean? It wasn't like they had to rely so heavily on him. So I feel like
remember like in 2019, Jordan Binnington for the Blues, like that kind of performance where like he's making superhuman saves, he's playing every game, you're riding a hot goalie. We're not seeing that here. I'm just thinking with the firepower that the Golden Knights have in an offense. I mean, it may not be a 7 game. It could be just the Golden Knights do it in 5 or 6, that kind of thing. So I don't know. I hope it's competitive because as a neutral, we want to see competitive games, lots of game 7s, teams taken to the brink. I'm thinking Montreal and Buffalo. I want to see more of that in the other games. And now we're getting to the 4 best teams, right? So I hope to see that, but we could see more sweeps. I mean, Carolina's coming up. We'll talk about Carolina soon.
Yeah, well, we can talk about them now if you want to. I mean, I said all I needed to say about the West. I mean,
and I have to confess, I always say I don't watch the West as much as I watch the East. Now having said that, I do watch the East, and I mean, where do we start? Like, I mean, Carolina is 8-0, right? Which in the process has earned them an 11-day layoff between postseason games. I think it's a record. I don't think any team's ever had that much time off.
You're talking about between round 2 and round 3, or you're combining all?
I'm combining them, yeah.
Okay, yeah.
So that's a lot of days off when you sweep both series. You're undefeated, and you get 11 days total. I mean, I think it was 5 and 6. That's a lot of time off. Clearly, that doesn't. We talked about that last time. Like that inactivity does not hurt them, of course, it seems. And I mean, maybe the Senators and the Flyers weren't the best opponents, but you have Cole Caulfield, you have Nick Suzuki. These guys put up a lot of points in the regular season, lots of goals, and they've shown up here too. So I think it'll be interesting. But for the Canadians and the Hurricanes are going to make for a really interesting series, I think. I mean,
yeah. Well, I mean, just looking at these series, though, we didn't really. Did we have any expectations for the Flyers? I mean, maybe to win a game, but not really.
I thought after the first round, that series with Pittsburgh seemed like, hey, but then it turns out maybe the Flyers were. I think you and Tim had said that the Flyers. I expected more from them. I think you guys were pretty clear that they were not going to show up, and they didn't really show up. Maybe, I mean, look, 2 of those games went to overtime, so yes, but you got to win them too, right? So if the Flyers had won game 2, this could have been a different series maybe, but no. And so yeah, the Hurricanes are just they're really a force. And I know that we've been talking about a Hurricanes Avalanche final. I know you have a nickname for it.
Yeah. The battle of the
Yeah,
natural disasters.
right.
Yeah.
And that's still on course to happen, right?
Well, somebody was talking about how it would be the ex Whalers against the ex Nordiques.
That's also interesting. You know what? That would be a great throwback opportunity for both teams.
Oh my God! Yeah, they should just throw
Play the
out
whole series in
the Whalers and the oh my God, the Nordiques jerseys.
That would be kind of cool. That'd be kind of cool for teams that couldn't win it when they were in their original cities. You know,
I mean, so, yeah, that's I don't really fault those teams though, because not to get into ancient history, but when they joined the NHL basically made these really they basically had to give up all their good players, more or less. So it was.
Look, I have different feelings about Quebec, obviously, because I do think that it's a hockey city, so it needs it, But if someone who lives in New York City on the East Coast, I will tell you, Hartford is a very small market when you're nestled between Boston and New York has 3 teams. It's really, it seems extra to have Hartford. Now, I knew people in Connecticut who are obviously big Whalers fans, and they had a great fan base and all that, but it's quite annoying, I think, when teams are around and people ignore them. And then once they move and there's a throwback opportunity, then everyone's wearing a Whalers jersey. I'm like,
thank you.
I've seen more Whalers jersey in the last 10 years than I ever did for the first 20 years prior to that. So
thank you. Yes, I agree. Everyone's like, oh, the whale. It's like, shut up. And then when people are like, did you know that there's an H hidden in the logo? And it's just like, yeah, I think it was kind of obvious, but in in a cool way, not in a hit you over the head way, in a very cool graphic designer way,
I think people miss things. They're nostalgic about things that they never were involved with in the first place. They just like the idea. They like the logo, the feel, the vibe.
Yeah. Here, let me show you my Atlanta Thrashers tattoo. My Atlanta Thrashers tattoo, right? Or my Atlanta Flames tattoo on the other arm.
Exactly.
Yeah,
but yeah. So I was talking about the Hurricanes. Yeah, I mean they're really a force. Pardon the pun there. And I do think, and they've and they've been a team that's been kind of growing year to year. It wouldn't surprise me if they got to the finals. But Canadians Buffalo, I mean, I watched more of those games. Great series, back and forth. I live in New York City, so I'm not, but there's a lot of Buffalo fans even downstate here in New York City. So there's more Buffalo flags in some of the homes. I've seen people with Buffalo gear, even though we're pretty far away from Buffalo. Some people, I've moved obviously to New York City. There's a pride in New York State to have,
a team from New York.
A team from New York State. Yeah, not New Jersey, exactly. Even though you see more, there's probably more Devils fans in the metro area, and we're not in the TV market, obviously, for Buffalo. Buffalo's way upstate. But there's people who have, even Buffalo Bills when the football team is playing in the fall or at the Super Bowl, or if they go in the playoffs, you can feel it here. Our governor's involved with making bets or whatever it is. So so if Buffalo got to the finals, it would be a big deal. It would have been a big deal. So I mean, I think I was bullish on the Canadians. I always feel like there should be one Canadian team in the Final Four, basically, and I'm glad that the Canadians are here. And that Game 7 was pretty epic. I mean, not that I follow the Canadians all the time, but this player Alex Newhook scored the winning goal. I mean, that's a great name. People are already calling him Mr. Game 7. He scores the overtime goal 3-2. And I looked it up to see when's his rookie card, and his Young Guns card is in the 21-22 upper deck, which now I think I already saw on eBay for like $15 to $20. This was basically like a 50-cent card, like 2 weeks ago. And I wrote a piece.
Probably have 7 of them.
Yeah, I wrote a piece for you that's up on the site now about how the playoffs have this impact on players, but it's all short term. I'm sure Alex Newhook will get his 15 minutes of fame if the Canadians win the Stanley Cup. But I think then he'll recede into the background like many other players have in the past, where there'll be a new plateau for him. Instead of being 50 cents, it'll be $15, but it'll stay at that forever.
Right. It's
Yeah,
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 it's not gonna be
right.
McDavid money or Ovechkin money.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. I mean, I mentioned earlier, like Cole Caulfield, the Dick Suzuki, and even those guys who have established themselves are not commanding gigantic sums. Now, if they were to win the Stanley Cup, okay, maybe, but we'll see. Like it's the kind of thing where but it's just a good story. This guy is from Newfoundland, so there was all these great stories about how like it was already like 1 o'clock in the morning because they're 1 hour ahead of Eastern
Yeah,
time. Yeah, they're in the Atlantic time zone. Is it? We think Eastern time is always the first time zone in this
right.
hemisphere, but it's not. So I think it was like already past 1 in the morning there. So it was already Tuesday, and like his whole town was watching the game. And it's always it's kind of these are great stories, and there are always players that emerge that you never imagine. So that's the fun of the playoffs. I mean, it's you know because even during the regular season, how many Canadians games am I watching? Unless they're on national TV or something, I'm not watching them. So it's fun to watch the playoffs. I feel for Buffalo. I feel like they were rebuilding, and look, they'll probably be back next year. I think that they're definitely a playoff team now. They have the parts for it. Um,
They
and
need
so,
to
of
solidify their goaltending because they kept
course,
going back and forth between Alex Lyon and Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen,
yeah,
and I mean, I think they're both of those goalies have had like hot streaks and cold streaks during the
yes,
season,
yeah,
and I don't think it wasn't really like one was the clear cut starter. I mean, maybe on paper it was Pekka Luukkonen, but Lyon has played well too. So I, I don't know. I mean, you think back to like when it was Jeremy Swayman and Linus Ullmark, right? And that was
right,
working pretty well for them. But then they're just like, we got 12 million tied up in goalies. Trade one, get another forward or something. You know what I mean? Like it's
sure,
I don't know, but I mean, not that the Sabres were there, but yeah, I mean, when you have to flip flop your goalies because you're not sure which one should be the starter. And I'm not talking about like the short term, like, okay, they let in a couple of bad goals, you put in the backup, the team rallies and wins or whatever, or you put in the backup because the game is lost, but you want your starter to just rest and get ready for the next game. And I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about like when you just don't know who's going to start game 6.
yeah. I mean, Pekka Luukkonen has been mostly the number one goalie, for about 5 years now. Or he's been in their system for that long. So I mean, but I agree with you. This becomes, it's kind of funny, kind of shorthand in terms of talking points. The goaltending situation is a thing, and teams that want to succeed will get that right, and they'll figure that out. And they may need to go out and get rid of these two and go and get somebody like a real starter, and then maybe one of these guys becomes a backup, and then one of them gets traded. I mean, that's entirely possible. And you got to make those adjustments as you see fit as the season go on. I mean, they had nothing to be ashamed of. Buffalo really gave it their all here. And look, when you get to a game 7, there's very little you can do. When you're on the losing end of that, it's terrible. It stinks. But I mean, this was back and forth. It was a really good series, and I wish some of the other ones have been this tight. And I'm hoping the conference finals are that way, that we get game 6, game 7. If we get another one of these 4-0s, I don't know, that doesn't excite me.
Getting back to the Hurricanes for a minute, and not to read too much into it, but like a couple of things that I'm noticing. I mean, because the way they play. So all of these games have been, I mean, I guess 4 goals is a lot in today's NHL. But go
Right,
back to that game 1 between the Wild and the Avalanche. It was like 9-6. I mean,
right.
that was insane. Okay, that was fun. That was run and gun, wide open hockey. That was enjoyable. But looking at this, I mean, I guess
That was the anti-dead puck era game, right? Like in that.
yes. But like when you think about like when a team wins, and again, I'm just reading into Carolina here. I mean, we could do the same for the Avalanche. We don't have to though because they finished at the top of the league and they seem to be doing really okay for themselves. But like when you talked about, you said, well, if the Flyers won that second game in overtime, it would have been a different series. And that's true. It would have been tied. But the thing is that you can't just depend on those overtime wins, right? Like usually you have a team that pulls off a win in overtime. That's about as close as you could get. You have to have the games where you just win. You have to have the games
like
where you win.
5-2. Yeah.
You just have to have one of those trouncings. We trounced a team 5-2.
Right.
Okay. You have to have those close games. We won 2-1, or we won 3-2 in overtime, right? You need to have all those types of games. You can't just if you're going to just depend on winning every game in overtime, you're not going to win the Stanley Cup.
Well, you're playing Russian roulette now. I mean,
but I mean, it's just, if you need to push, if you can't just win a game in the 60 minutes, you have to be able to. And just looking at Carolina, they win big, they win in overtime, and they shut out, right? And looking at the first series, they had a shutout, they had a big win. Well, 4-2. I don't know if that's big, but for this case, argument will say, I mean, series, that could have been an empty netter at the end. I don't remember, but and then they had an overtime win, right? So they're able to win in overtime. They're able to win in regulation. They're able to shut out the other team. They're able to win close ones or win more lopsided.
You're saying it's a mix of.
It's a mix of that, right? You can't just I don't know, if you're the team that has to win every game 9-6, well, you're still allowing 6 goals. You know what I mean? And that's kind of shaky, right?
That's true. That's a lot of goals.
That's a lot of goals. And if you are only winning games 1-0 in overtime, now 1-0 in overtime, that's exciting. But if your track record is overtime, that's not. You like I said, you need.
But what does that tell you? So what are you saying in a Hurricanes Canadiens matchup? You still think the Hurricanes are favored then?
Well, let's talk about that, because we'll segue, unless you wanted to talk more about these series.
No, it's a good segue.
We'll segue into the round 3 preview. Looking at the East, okay, a couple things to keep in mind. Carolina is well rested, and they've had time for any injuries to heal.
Yes, and the time off hasn't hurt them.
And the time off has not hurt them.
Nope.
Montreal pushed Tampa Bay to 7 games.
Yep.
And then they pushed Buffalo to 7 games.
Right. So they played a lot more games.
They played a lot more games. And I'm not going to say they're more tired, but come on, they're playing every other. The playoffs are harder than a regular season game. I mean, it is. And, and you're playing that same goalie. And even if you get a day, okay, Thursday to Saturday, Monday, okay, so maybe you get 2 days or 3 days, right? But still, you're depending on one goalie, and you are, and
overtime in the playoffs is very stressful. It's another 20-minute period potentially. I mean, mentally and physically, Carolina comes in, and then being undefeated in the playoffs. I mean, they come in super favored. Can Montreal even snatch a game or two? That'd be interesting to see. Game 1 will matter. Whoever wins game 1 could set the tone. If Montreal were to win game 1, that would be super interesting. But if Carolina wins game 1, I think Carolina will just take it.
Yeah, I mean, looking at Montreal was they weren't the wild card team. They were the third. Okay, so they upset Tampa Bay. They upset Buffalo. But I don't know. I mean, if they split game 1 and 2, if they get a split, I wouldn't be worried it'd be kind of funny, because Carolina hasn't lost a game yet.
Well, that's true. So how they take that first defeat, if it comes, will be interesting.
You got to have a little adversity.
Yeah, I mean, even if they had won those other series 4-1, then okay, you've lost and come back, and I don't think it's ever happened where a team has gone into the Stanley Cup Finals and have swept every series. I don't think that's ever happened. So so we're in uncharted waters here potentially. But I mean, I hope it's competitive. I think Carolina has an edge. It just depends on how the first 2 games go, and then we'll see the tone for it.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's not going to be. I don't think it's going to be a sweep. I mean,
no, I don't think when you get to this level, I mean, it can be a sweep. Now, Colorado and Vegas, I think that'll be a much more competitive series.
yeah, I think that's really going to be.
This
I'm
could be a game.
hoping,
This could be a Game 7 situation.
yeah, knockdown, drag out kind of
I
series.
hope.
I mean, I think I mean, sure, it's easy to just look and say, "Oh, I'm going to pick the 4 best teams to make it to the Final Four," and that didn't quite happen. I mean, we always seem to have an upset, and that's what's fun about the playoffs. Is
Yeah.
sometimes things go how you think they're going to go, and sometimes you get these upsets. I mean, usually you get at least one upset, and whether it's a little upset or a big upset, I would say them beating Tampa Bay, probably not that big of an upset. Them beating the Sabres, definitely a bigger upset. You know what I mean? So,
yeah, I mean, I know we've made a big fuss in the last podcast about like where they ended in the regular season and what constitutes an upset or not. But I mean, ultimately, I think when you get down to it, when you get to this time, for the Final Four, it doesn't matter. The seeding is out the window. I think at this point, it's like they've played enough playoff games that everyone deserves to be here. And what happened during the regular season doesn't necessarily have a reflection. I mean, yeah, in the case of Colorado, it matters that they had the best record. It matters that certain players did well during the regular season if they're still healthy. That matters here, of course. But what I'm getting at is everyone's starting from zero here. And anything can happen. And I mean, Florida Panthers won the Stanley Cup one year, right? Or got to the finals, and I think they were an 8th seed or something. So I mean, it's entirely possible.
It happens. I'm trying to remember though. When was the last time you had a team with long odds win the cup? Like where it wasn't like, okay, the best team in the league wins or the second best team.
Yeah, but when you say long odds, would you mean like if look, out of these 4 teams, if Montreal won the cup, I'd say, wow, I never saw that coming. But the other 3, I wouldn't be surprised.
Right. But I mean, if okay. I mean, I agree. And I'm getting a little tired of these Patrick Waugh and Dryden comparisons. I mean, I like Jakob Dobis. I liked how he said that he played every game like a Game 7 this season because he's been on the bubble. He was like pretty much like the 3rd stringer, and then he just kind of worked his way up to first string. I mean, he battled, but it's just like, okay, but you look at the 71 Canadiens roster, and then you look at the 86 Canadiens roster, and you look at the 2026 Canadiens roster, and I mean, you did mention they got some good players, of course. Caulfield's been good for them. Lane Hudson's been good. Demidov is a up and coming young star player. And they got Newhook has been playing well. But I mean, I don't.
Well, look,
I don't see it yet for them. Maybe, but not today.
Right, and look, the last time a Canadian team won the cup was '93. That team was the Canadiens. You said you're sick of making Waugh and Dryden comments, or comparisons. But let's be honest, they haven't won the cup since players like Patrick Waugh were in the league. So I mean, we make those comparisons. For us to stop making those comparisons, they need to win the cup this year. That'd be huge for Canada. I think I can see all of Canada getting behind Montreal. At least I think they would. I don't know. It is a French-speaking part, so you never know. That could still
I know, right?
I mean, I can see how all of Canada got behind the Oilers or Calgary. I can see how even Toronto, but I can see how like the French, people like forget about Montreal, like they're on their own. The whole region of Quebec will be very, very exciting.
Yeah, I mean that's I know what you're saying.
Unfortunately, that's we live in a very tribal world society. But having said that, I do think I can see how, I'd like to see a Canadian team win the cup. I've said that even during the pandemic when we were basically guaranteed a Canadian team as one of the Final Four because of the way the divisions were set up. They had a Canadian division that couldn't travel. Remember that? And I kind of like that idea. And so I'm a neutral, so I'm going to root for Montreal. But Carolina has been a team that has been up and coming for a good chunk now, and they've been building towards this. So, wouldn't surprise me if we do get the the all-weather channel Stanley Cup Finals, Avalanche versus the Hurricanes, because and the Weather
On
Channel
the
could,
Weather Channel.
it
Wait,
could
wait,
be
wait.
aired. Could be aired on the Weather Channel too if they wanted.
No, that should have been one for the Outdoor Life Network.
Oh yeah, OLN, yeah.
Remember when they were on
RIP.
OLN? Yeah, it was just like,
RIP. Yep.
huh?
I said RIP OLN.
Okay, so for those of you who are
first
under,
of all, OLN
under 45 or under 40, you want to explain?
Yeah, so OLN was basically a sports network that showed basically bicycle racing all day. I remember those
Outdoor Life Network.
Right. It was basically a lot of bicycle racing, a lot of Tour de France, that kind of thing.
No, and they also had like a lot of like outdoor sports, like the hunting and the fishing, the swamp. I used to joke about how you'd have swamp boat racing at 5, followed by the NHL at 6.
Right. And so then they had the NHL contract, and it was, I mean, I had it on my cable system, but I think a lot of people didn't know what this channel was. It was very odd that even in the early 2000s, for example, that ESPN or NBC or ABC wasn't interested in having the National Hockey League on their air. Like, it was, if you think about it, it's crazy. Now OLN aired those games. I want to say OLN then rebranded and became Versus.
Right. Yes, that's exactly it.
Because I think they realized, well, we don't only show outdoor life stuff like fly fishing and bicycle racing. We also show hockey and whatever other sport we can pick up. So they became Versus, and that made actually things got worse, if you can believe it. And finally, the league moved on from that. But that was, I would say, those were dark years for the NHL, big time.
Yeah, I mean, I had a love-hate relationship with Versus and Outdoor Life Network. I mean, I'm sorry, that's like, I mean, it's almost like putting your games on the Food Network. I mean, it was just like they needed to be somewhere, and they couldn't. I mean, as far as like, I mean, the NHL, and this is something I've researched because I'm bitter that I wasn't a hockey fan until '89. And that's because the games were buried on cable. The Blackhawk games were on cable, only their road games, not their home games. No home games were televised. And the national broadcasts were televised on in the early 80s. It was USA. And then later on, USA, which I think is embarrassing if you ask me. Yeah. I mean, USA, remember they'd show like those USA Up All Night. They'd show like those kind of like B-list, kind of not quite like, like those teen sex comedy type movies, you know what I mean? With all the good parts blurred out or edited out or whatever, you know what I mean? And Gilbert Gottfried would host, and it'd just be like, so it's just kind of embarrassing that the NHL was on that channel, and then they were on ESPN. And here's the other thing. Like, I don't know, did you get WGN in New York, the Chicago station, the Superstation?
Superstation, yes. I got that on my cable system, but much later, like with TBS was the same thing.
Did you remember seeing any Cubs games on WGN?
I think I did, just like I saw the Braves on TBS.
Okay, because a lot of people are Cubs fans because WGN, which was a Superstation and picked up, was either like on cable or whatever, So we would get, correct me if I'm wrong, WWOR?
With Channel 9 in New York, which showed the Rangers.
Yes, except that when the Rangers were being televised, those would be blacked out in Chicago.
Oh.
Because I would look in the TV guide and it'd be like, New York Rangers versus Hartford Whalers. Oh, man. And I'd go to like watch that game, and they would just have something else on. Like, even though the TV guide would list it, but then I think then they'd have to be like, oh, wait, no, we can't show this because that would be considered a national broadcast. So, yeah. So, I mean,
it was in the contract. Yeah. So, for example, at the time, half those games were on cable, but the ones that were on WOR, which was free in New York over the air, I'd watch those games. I didn't have cable growing up as a young kid. Mm-hmm. So I remember watching those games just like you can watch New York Yankees on Channel 11, which is also an independent station at the time. So, yeah, I mean, the visibility of hockey matters. I mean, we live in a world now where, like, I mean, I mention this because it's something that's just changed my world the last 2 weeks, but I want to get a bigger TV for my living room. I don't have a TV in the living room at all. I have one in the basement. Where it's like a sort of like a proxy living room. Mm-hmm. That became my son's room. So watching TV became much harder. And I just was like, instead of getting a TV in the living room, I'm just gonna go on Amazon and get a projector. And I've been watching games and sports on like my wall, and it's like great quality. It's like 50, 60 inches. I can make the screen as big as I want, depending on
Wow.
where I move the projector. So I'm telling people this. I'm like, don't get a TV, just get a projector. It's all loaded with apps anyway. You can download the apps, Netflix, Amazon. You can watch. And I've been watching the playoffs on that, and it's like, I don't think I'm gonna leave my house ever at this point. But what I'm getting at is the technology today is it, I blame technology for a lot of ills in society, but sometimes you're like watching a hockey game, like Montreal and Buffalo, on a projector, 60 inches on your wall or whatever, as big like a movie theater. And you're like, you know what? Sometimes technology is good, and we didn't have these options in the 80s and 90s. I mean, it wasn't there. It just was so limited. And the National Hockey League made things worse by not being baseball, by not being football, by not being national. I mean, I think you and I get this whenever we go to the expo in Canada. We're always like, maybe we should have just been born Canadians. Like
Right.
Canada's, it's like literally we would channel surf in the hotel room, and every other channel was hockey. We were like, people must have grown up that way, and it's so part of their culture. It's
Well, I
natural.
remember like when we were like getting ready to go to the expo, and I
Yeah.
remember like we had the TV on, and it was just like their like
The Sports
Saturday
Center.
morning news
Yeah,
or
yeah.
whatever, and like like when Jeremy Roenick got inducted into the
Yes.
Hockey Hall of Fame in Chicago, it was like maybe like a 30-second thing, like former Blackhawk Jeremy Roenick, J.R. Styles, give us nicknames,
They're doing 2 hour. They're doing 2 hour
they did
in-depth.
like this 10-minute featurette about Roenick's career and like his whole rise and fall and
Right.
like as a player and then also like as a broadcaster. I mean, it was like, wow. I mean, they were really in depth about it. Whereas like in Chicago, where he played for 7 seasons and arguably his best hockey, it was just like maybe 30 seconds to a minute. You know what I mean? It was just,
yeah, I mean, look, as someone who's has a Italian heritage, I'm a big soccer fan. Like, I get it when I go to Europe, soccer's a big deal, and you're like, wow. In America, there is such a crowded sports market. Like,
Mhm.
so many baseball fans and football fans, and everything is seasonal. And basketball's big, and so hockey becomes one of those sports where it's like, okay, where do we squeeze this in now?
Mhm.
And I think, look, you're in Chicago, I'm in New York. Those are great hockey markets, but it's a big country. It covers North America. I don't want to get too far afield from what we're talking about, but having Montreal here is important because it does go back to the roots of the league. I mean, look at the teams that are here: Vegas, the Avalanche, Carolina. I mean, these teams were not around when we were kids.
Right.
So, and Montreal's there. And I don't even mean kids. Like, we were in college, they weren't around either.
No.
So the league has evolved, but at the same time, there's a bit of a throwback element here. So we'll see what happens. I'm hoping for some competitive games, and these playoffs have been very good. And they generally are. And I know people that don't watch hockey during the regular season and say to me, "Oh, I watch the playoffs." So clearly, there's an appetite for high level hockey, and this is the highest level you can get. So I'm hoping for a great, conference finals, and we'll see what happens. Who gets to the cup final, and we'll talk about it then.
Yeah. Do you think, I mean, looking at the goaltending, the only goalies we didn't really talk about, I mean, Carolina, Frederick Anderson. Wow. I mean, he's got like 2 shutouts, I think, and
I mean,
11 allowed 11 goals in 8 games or something like that. Or
I mean, he's basically allowing a goal a game.
Yeah, I mean, he's even better then because some of those games were in overtime. Like, so it actually lowers your goals allowed average.
Right.
But
If you
he's
think
been
60 minutes,
he's been doing well. I mean, that's an example. Like, because the thing is, I mean, we've seen Freddie Anderson. Like, he would do okay. He would do good. I mean, he was like, they thought he was going to be the next big thing in Toronto, and I guess the thing is like he seems like, I'm not saying he's like the best goalie in the league, and I'm not saying he's the worst goalie in the league, but he's an example of somebody who's playing really well. He's got a good, and he can steal them a game, but he's not he's not flawed. You know what I mean? Like, we look at some goalies and we go, oh, okay, that was a bad goal, right? They should have well, it's easy to say, oh, they should have stopped the puck, right? But I look at him and there doesn't seem to be any flaws in his game right now, and that's what they need, And if he, but then looking at the Golden Knights and Carter Hart, remember Carter Hart was out of the league for a couple of years because of the legal troubles,
right?
And then he came back to to Vegas, but then he got injured like a couple games in. Like, so he came back, he got injured, then he came back at the end of the season. John Tortorella basically played the heck out of him. He won 7 out of his 8 games. He looked great. He's looking great in the playoffs. So I don't know, just interesting that a year ago he was out of the league, and now he's back, and he seems to be playing as well as he was with the Flyers. I'm not too familiar with him. I mean, I know he was playing well for the Flyers, but I can't, say, oh, he's as good as he was, but he seems to be doing great.
Yeah, no, I don't.
Of course, he's got a great team in front of him too. So
yeah, well, I don't want to underrate Anderson as a goaltender, but Carolina just has this ability to defend in a way that is also above average, and so that goes a long way too. But yeah, no, I mean, Carolina is a complete team in that sense. So, and look, if there is a hot goalie in these playoffs, it is him. I mean, there is no one hot goalie because we've got teams that are alternating, and they're finding ways to win, but they're not riding a hot goalie. In that sense, if someone said just purely based on that, I'd say, well, then Carolina will win the whole thing, and because if he stays hot, then but that's the key. You have to stay hot, and so we'll see what happens. But TSN had these interesting like heat maps on their website during one of the previews I was reading this morning, and they show like defensively how the Carolina heat map looks, and it's just an interesting way to look at, in addition to stats, interesting way of looking at how teams defend 5-on-5 and the power play and all that. And so, I mean, they don't give up cheap penalties either, which is key here. And so, yeah, I mean, it's interesting to see what they do defensively, and it matters. I mean, I think goalies will admit, hey, look, yeah, what impresses me about goalies is if they're making routine saves, I'm not impressed by that. That means anybody can make that save. It's when they're making the super amazing ones. And in that way, maybe Carolina hasn't been tested. Clearly Senators and the Flyers maybe were the 2 easiest teams you can play to get to this point. So
yeah, and I'm looking at his saves right now. And so, I mean, just looking at the last couple of games, I mean, he made 17 saves, 19 saves, that's 36 saves, but that was an overtime game. 19 saves, 27, 22, 39, another overtime, and 22. So
he barely cracks 25. If some of those are in some of them don't even crack 20. That's low. That's not a lot of shots.
No, and so I mean, and I guess that's okay too. I mean, if Carolina can just keep doing that,
then you're good. I mean,
limit their chances and just smother them, and don't let them get 30 shots a game. Don't let them get 30. I mean, 30 shots a game is pretty average, right? That's an average. Okay. Yeah. So yeah, because when a goalie makes 40, 50 saves, it's like, oh my god, right? Like when it's like under when you hear like he had a shutout and you're like, oh, that's good, and he's like, and made 17 saves, and it's like,
that's
okay,
it.
Well, all right, still a shutout's a shutout, right? But then when you hear that, like,
when I see that,
he won 3-2 and he made 17 saves, and you're like, okay, so he stopped 17 out of 20, and then you go, okay, that's not so good anymore,
Yeah, and then those stats matter too. So yeah, I mean, so we'll see what happens. I mean, I think Montreal will clearly be the toughest team they face, and Montreal has some firepower up top. Cole Caulfield, for example, is Nick Suzuki. I mentioned these guys. I mean, these guys, they can pepper you. So we'll see.
Yeah.
So it should be a good series, and maybe we'll see that flow that you were mentioning. Some tight games, some 7-3s, maybe. Like, but I don't know if either if Carolina gives up 7 goals, then who knows? But we'll see how they react to that. But I think it'll be a lot of fun. I hope so. I don't want to see sweeps here. That's the last thing I want to see. Put the brooms away. Let's go to Game 7.
Flair hockey cards. I don't know if you took a look at any of these online.
I did, and well, yeah, not only the new one, but also I was looking back at some of the ones from the '90s, and I will admit up front that in the '90s this was not my thing. I was not. This is out of my price range in the '90s. I will admit.
Yeah, I can't quite remember what they cost back in the 90s. Speaking of the 90s, we'll talk about the 90s, but like I can't remember if they were $3.99 a pack. I mean, at this point,
Which in the '90s was yeah, a lot of
Stadium
money.
Club was like $2.50 a pack.
Right.
And I remember Be a Player was $5.95 a pack, but it had one autograph, but that just seemed ridiculous considering that Score was still like a 79-cent or 99-cent product. And that Topps was maybe $1 a pack. So the fact that like with Flair, and we'll talk about the original Flair, but yeah, like I guess the first thing I want to say before we get into like our deconstruction and dissertation, since we're teachers, of Flair, I guess dissertation would be for like a writing teacher, and deconstruction of like the design would be for a design teacher. I guess what I kind of realize now as we look at like back to like say 2021, and of course, look, retro has been around for a while. I just mean retro lowercase r, not capital R like Flair retro. But like you think of like 10-11 Score, they're like, oh, it's a throwback to the 90-91 Score set. Okay, cool, right? And then Pro Set Memories, they did their throwback also to 90-91, right? So like looking back at the 90s is nothing new. I think what's kind of dawned on me now is that we are just in the middle of it now. Now it's not even a novel thing anymore. That's not even a bad thing. And what I mean by this is we have the return of some 90s sets like Metal Universe that came back in 2020, 2021, EX 2000, which was the hockey set that never was, but is now, but it was going to be back then. Flair, which was around in the 90s, spelled Flair, which was made by Fleer, Fleer. But then you look at like sets like Synergy and like Credentials, who kind of really embrace those 90 aesthetics, at least the 23-24 Credentials. And maybe this picture of the Sidney Crosby card here doesn't do it as much justice, but some of those cards really kind of struck me as having like a Windows Paint kind of aesthetic with like the neon backgrounds and kind of like, well, maybe not pixelated, but just like swirls.
It's got that Trapper Keeper.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah, Trapper Keeper designer. That feel. No, I totally agree with what you're saying about the '90s. I have two prevailing theories. One is during COVID, there was kind of this. People got back into the hobby, blah blah blah. But there was a resurgence of these inserts of the mid to late '90s, that especially in basketball and some other sports, that people were really chasing, including metal, right? Some of those basketball ones go for a lot of money. And because what happened when people got back into the hobby, we all know the junk wax stuff isn't worth anything. So nobody was really chasing the '80s, early '90s stuff unless they were taking it and getting it graded like a Yager OPG Premier Rookie and turning a $5 card into like a $90 card. Okay, that was ridiculous. Right. But people were doing that, but they're also chasing these inserts that, let's be honest, by '95, a lot of people that were in the hobby as kids or teenagers were out. Like I was already in college in '95, and I want to say that was maybe the first year where I really don't remember buying any hockey cards that year. So it's already, you're getting older and you kind of start to drop off a little bit. And so what happens, I think people then, when they came back in, they were like, wait a minute, I don't remember this stuff, or I stopped collecting. I have all this money. It is the pandemic. I'm just going to gobble this stuff up. So I think what happened was this interest in this era just forced all the card makers, including Topps, including Upper Deck, to just reproduce sets that harken back to that nostalgia. Let's be honest, when you go to a card show, this guy's there was 70 years old. But that sweet spot is people between the ages of like 45 and 55.
Mhm.
Gen Xers, that's us.
Mhm.
We form a big chunk of the hobby because we grew up with it. We
Right.
were there during the junk wax, and now we're still buying it. And they're like, hey, let's cater to those people. And then if kids want to buy it, it's new to them too. Kids have no idea what these designs are. What's interesting about these designs is that 30 years from now, when people look back, they're going to be like, wow, was there no originality here? Because this is the same stuff they were producing in 95. They're reproducing it again in 2025, 2026. So I don't want this era that we're living in to just be about the 90s. I want it to be what's the 2020s going to be like? What does that era look like? And no one can tell me that. And I'm looking at these cards here on screen. We're going to look at the set. There's nothing that tells me this is original. It just tells me, hey, maybe you forgot about this set, and maybe you collected back in the 90s. Here it is again with the current players. And I don't know what your feeling about that is, but as someone who's deeper into design than I am, I just feel like what's the 2020s design? It just can't all be 90s. Every insert in every upper deck set now is 1990s. Now they're making complete sets like Flair. They're basically 90s. So I don't know
Right.
what you think about that.
Well, and now I feel a little, not in a bad way, in a good way, put on the spot because I didn't really think about like the aesthetics of today, right?
Mm,
Because we look at like, I don't know, we look at like, I would say that like maybe even like hockey cards, but also baseball cards, maybe a little bit obvious. I'd say the aesthetic evolved from, let's say, from like the 50s to like say 1989, right? The aesthetic evolved with the times, but designs were pretty much the same. It was kind of like, well, we're going to put the player's position inside of the baseball. We're going to have a bat going across the top with the player's name in it, or we're going to have a hockey stick with the player's name in it, right? Like it was like, I mean, there were influences, really like the 70s. You see the influence of like pop culture art when you
mm,
started getting like the bright colors and like the players cut out and put against like the pink backgrounds and stuff. So you feel that like in its time, right? And even
right.
like going back to like a 1950s hockey card looks like a 1950s hockey card,
Yeah.
right? Like
Yeah.
it could be a Parker's card, it could be the cover of like a magazine, right? It had that aesthetic. Um, and then I feel like in the 80s and 90s, at least in the early 80s and 90s, yeah, there was design. There were like, and we now you see those designs borrowed, but like it was more about like the technology, like, hey, we can make full bleed photography. Let's make full bleed photography. Hey, we can have holograms. Let's make holograms, right? Like it was like more about like the technology, right? And then it's like, hey, we can make cards that are printed on foil. Let's make cards that are printed on foil, right? Like that kind of became like the driving thing. But I mean, if you look at like design from the 90s, I mean, yeah, like the cards were going for that like saturated colors,
Yeah,
overblown
loud.
kind of design,
Yeah.
loud, yeah, and the funky fonts, you know what I mean? And
Squiggly lines,
squiggly
zigzags.
lines, zigzags. And then so like today, I mean, I guess I didn't really think to deconstruct the design of today. And I'm more of a web guy and not a print design guy, but it's all
Right.
kind of the same thing now. But I think like a lot of design is not good right
Right.
now because I feel like a lot of it is just memes. You know what I mean? Where
Yes.
like they won't, instead of like, let's make this really well designed ad. It's like, nah, let's just make a funny meme, and that'll do the job. You know what I
Mm,
mean? Like,
interesting. Yeah. But you really can't reproduce that here. And so I guess we can talk about the set itself, but
yeah,
it's just an interesting prelude conversation to I think the question to ask is it too much 90s nostalgia now? That's
yeah,
all.
and I'm gonna agree with you on something you said earlier, though. I don't feel like the cards from 2020s really have an identity, right? Like you
Yeah.
look at like honestly, like if you asked me to describe 91, 92 upper deck, I could. But if you
Yeah.
or 95, 96 upper deck, I think I could. That's kind of when I kind of slowed down with the collecting for a bit. But like 2021, 22, 23, it kind of blurs together.
They're all the
And
same.
they're all
I
the
mean,
same.
the flagship especially, it just looks the same.
Yeah, I mean, even if they're different, I mean, it's like,
Right.
okay, well, this year they put the stripe on the left side. This year they put the stripe on the bottom. This year put it on the right.
The only differentiator is like, oh, the Young Guns is in script this year in silver and not just in block letters or something, like, but it looks like it could have been any. I mean, I confuse 24 and 25 and 25, 26 and 22, 23 like all the time. So I'm like, well, unless I know the player by name, I don't really know what I'm looking at, especially the base cards. A flagship, I'm talking about flagship. Then all the inserts are 90s stuff, obviously. And then now we're talking about Flair. That whole thing is 90s. I mean, like, there's a Michael Misa card on the screen here. I mean, I don't know, maybe my eyesight's going, I'm getting old, but that could be Kelly Kissio from 91 or Sharks. Like, I don't know. Like, it's, it's the color, the feel, the vibe is basically the same as the 90s. And we're going to, and we'll look at some 90s, I guess, Flair at some point.
Kelly Kissio, New York Rangers legend.
He was, I liked him as a Ranger. I think
he was their captain for a year.
They had to dump him. They had to dump him in the expansion draft, I think. And so he ended up
real quick, true story. Kissio was almost a Blackhawk. He was traded to the Chicago Blackhawks at the 92 trade deadline, and the trade was rejected by the NHL because it came in after the deadline. And it came in after the deadline because teams had to fax the league.
Yeah, it was a fax machine, right?
And the NHL had one fax machine.
Of course they did. So, it was busy, right?
And it was the NHL. So, of course, they had one fax machine because it was the NHL in 1992, right? So, you had all these teams faxing the league at the last minute, their trades. And I think the Blackhawks trade came in at like 3:06 or something.
Because the machine was backed up, sure.
Yeah. And then I remember the Hawks were supposed to play the Sharks that night. And they were just saying, yeah, well, Kissio's going to be a healthy scratch because we don't know. Is he going to be a Shark? Is he going to be a Hawk?
Limbo. He's in limbo,
right? Yeah, and so they decided against it. So just, I love hockey. It's my favorite sport, but I will never turn down the opportunity to make fun of the NHL's ineptitude. Yeah, one fax machine.
They could have gotten a second. I don't know.
they got. I think they got two more after that. And now you could just well,
now it's all electronic. But yeah,
you could just text Gary Bettman and
but it's all electronic. But yeah, sure.
Yeah. So the 90s are back. Oh, sorry. Yeah. The 90s are back between the design and the ideas. So looking at Flair, so this was released in April. Cost $220 for a hobby box. You get 10 packs per box. You get 4 cards per pack, so you get 40 cards. In a box, it's about $5.50 a card, $22 a pack. Yeah.
Well, you know what's interesting? That's a high-end product, I think. But what's interesting is the cover is very film noir, and there is no. Is that somebody in the league? I don't know who that is.
That's nobody. It's an illustration. It's meant to look like the 94-95 Fleer box, but it is not a straight up copy of it because that box was more tall, because it was 36 packs, and I think the player was facing the other direction. Let's see if I didn't. Oh no, he's facing the same direction, but it's a different pose, but same idea. I will say this really quick about 94-95 Fleer. I think it was at a national, maybe in 2019. Or I forget what year it was, but I bought a sealed box of 94-95 Flair hockey cards. And I held on to it. I probably paid $20 for it. And I bought it just because nostalgia. I had this sealed box. I'm like, oh, this is cool. I remember when this was $3 a pack, $4 a pack. And maybe I paid 20, maybe I paid 30. I don't know. I didn't pay a lot for the box.
Was it bricked?
I held on to it, huh?
Was it bricked?
Well, here's the thing. I held on to it, and I sold it in, I think, 2021 or 2022. Now, here's the thing. What do you do with an unopened box of Flair hockey cards from the 90s? If you open it and it's bricked,
it's garbage, basically.
It's garbage, right? It's garbage, right? So I have the set already. I don't have all the inserts, but how many inserts am I going to get in a box?
Right.
You're not going to get, you're going to get some, right? So
it's worth keeping it sealed.
It was, but it was also taking up room, and I also thought
Sure.
that I could get, I don't want to say good money for it, but I think if you buy something for 20 and you sell it for 80 and you say, this has been sitting in my closet for 6 years and I don't need it anymore. Right. So
Well,
I don't know. I mean, it was just like, I kind of regret selling it, but at the same time, I was kind of glad to get rid of it. And then if
no,
somebody else,
yeah, I
whoever
agree.
bought it, if it's brick, that's his problem. I mean, it
No,
was sealed when I sold it to
and
him.
that's why I'm always worried about buying anything mid 90s upper deck. I know they put that gloss on it. I'm always worried
Yeah.
that things are
Yeah.
bricked, so I don't buy it. And which probably makes the cards that are out in the wild worth more money, because if they were open back then, they're out. If you're going to try to bring new cards into the marketplace and they're bricked, and all of them are bricked because they've been sitting in these boxes for 35 years, then basically they're scarce. And so the boxes are worth money sealed. And that means everyone is buying boxes and selling them, and no one's ever opening them, because I've seen people try to break this stuff, not this particular product, but stuff from that era, and it's just garbage. It's all bricked, and paint coming off, color coming off. It's on the back of cards, the front of cards. These cards don't grade well. They're basically terrible. And so that's the fear. And so yeah, that's another reason why they're probably remaking some of these designs, is they know to a certain degree you can't go out and buy it, even though it's probably printed in fewer quantities. If it's bricked, whatever, right? Like, it's not worth it. So it could be the guy that bought the box from you never opened it either, if he knows better. If he opened it, then it's he lost out.
Yeah, I don't know. The guy was actually a dealer, I think, from Sweden who
Hmm.
came to Chicago to the show to buy hockey cards. So he was looking for
He was
stuff.
looking to make his trip worth it, so he's going to buy what he can.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. It was so that was, that was
That's
I
all.
remember that because we had a conversation, because it was interesting to talk to a dealer from another country,
Oh yeah,
just like,
absolutely. Yeah,
especially
absolutely.
Sweden. You know what I mean? That
Yeah,
was a
yeah.
bit of a trip. But yeah, so now the set itself, it's 200 cards. You got 150 veterans and 50 rookie cards. Now the veterans are not, excuse me, the rookie cards are not short printed. Like normally, well, first I thought, okay, one rookie card per pack, but there's 10 packs, right? And I only got, let me check my notes here. I think I got 32 cards, 32,
You got 10 you got 10
30
rookies?
base cards. But out of the 30 base cards, 8 of them were between, let me see here. I want to say, let's see here. And it ended up getting 8 out of my 30. So if you think about it, like 30 cards and 200 card set. So you're going to get 7 or 8 cards between 1 and 50, 51 and 100, 101 to 150, and 151 to 200, right? It's going to be 7 or 8, right? Because it was 30 total. So that they kind of, it kind of broke down that way. You know what I mean? Like like when you get short prints and, you get a ton of cards 1 through 200, and then you get 6 cards 201 through 250. You know what I mean?
Well,
It wasn't like that.
It was tiered almost.
Well, no, I'm talking about, this was the opposite of short prints. This is just basically like the distribution was pretty much the same.
Okay, so how many rookies did you end up getting then? 10? No.
I ended up getting 8.
Oh, so okay, so close to one a pack. Close.
Yeah, because
Not bad.
like I said, 1 through 150, I got like 7 cards, and 51 through 100, I got like 8 cards, or whatever, right?
It could be that you got 8, but someone else could have gotten 10, or because of the inserts.
But the distribution curve was pretty flat.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, that's good. That's good, because we've talked about other sets in the past where they make getting the rookies impossible, and people are chasing those.
Yeah, where it's like you get 1 rookie card per box. Remember the old Black Diamond where you'd get like 4 double diamonds, 1 triple diamond, 1 quadruple diamond.
I never loved those.
God, I remember like one day I went to a local card shop, and some deal, there's like a stack of Black Diamond cards on the counter, and the dealer's like, oh, you could have those for $2. He's like, some guy came in, opened the box, took the hits, left the rest. And I looked, and they were like all the double, triple, and there was like 1 quadruple diamond, but it was like, I think the guy was just after the jersey and the autograph cards.
That's right.
And there was like a quadruple diamond of like Gretzky or something. And I'm like, yeah, okay, I'll pay you $2 for this whole stack. I mean, you know, you got to take it when you can get it. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like,
no, absolutely. And yeah, I mean, yeah, no, exactly. That's true. But
it was the same thing at the I think it was at the expo. Shout out to our friends at Upper Deck if you're listening. But I remember I was talking with Billy Celio, and we're just talking, and there was just a stack of Black Diamond cards on the table, or not Black Diamond, Metal Universe. And I said to him, I said, whose cards are those? He goes, I don't know. Somebody just sat here, opened his box for the redemptions, and left the cards. And I said, can I have these? He's like, yeah, take them. And I look, and it like, they were like the rookie card short prints and stuff. The guy just opened the packs, took the autograph, took the inserts, the hits, you know, and left like 1 through 200 or whatever. So
right,
I ended up with a bunch of short prints that helped me build my set. You know, it was
right. Yeah.
So yeah, everybody has a
Different wants and needs. Yeah, for
went
sure.
off topic here. I'm sorry.
No. I mean, but it shows you what people want and need, and
Right.
And, yeah.
I don't know. It's frustrating to me when you're like, man, you only get so many short prints, and then people are just like, oh, I don't care about these short prints. I just want the hit.
Right.
I get it. You know what? Collect what you like. We say that all the time, but it's also frustrating where it's like, wow, dude, that box had 40 cards and you took 2 of them and you don't care about the other 38. It's a little depressing, I think.
Yeah, at least they didn't throw them in the garbage, which is what happens with breakers and other people. So at least they left them on the table for us plebeians to go and
Yes,
scrape up, you know.
The plebes, yeah, such a great word, such an apt description. So yeah, so I guess what I'm saying is that like if you were going to build the set, it's not like you're going to be tearing out your hair trying to get the rookie cards, but you know, you get about 30 base cards per box, so you're still going to need to buy quite a few boxes, and then you get inserts and parallels. And but let's talk about this for a minute because we keep talking about 94, 95. So I just want to mention the first card you see if you're watching the video, that Gretzky card, that's a 94, 95 Flair Hockey card. The Brodeur next to it is a 96, 97. Don't know why there wasn't a 95, 96, but whatever. And then the Clayton Keller card you see at the right, that is a 25, 26. So they're definitely going for more of the look of the 94, 95 Flair set because the 96, 97 Flair set was a like a chrome card, like a foil.
That looks like metal a little bit. So
yeah. Basically what it was. It's like a metal card with like the etched foil and stuff. Yeah. So, you know, I mean, these cards are similar. They're similar in like thickness. Actually, I think these cards are a little thicker. Yeah, they're definitely a thicker card stock, but they were kind of going for that vibe, although not a straight up just taking that design and applying it. But they're you can look here and you can just see they're just kind of going for that aesthetic with the foil stamping and with like the 2 photos on the front, the 1 photo on the back. Of course, they only got 1 line of stats, but you know, get the idea. So. Did you collect either of these? You said you were kind of slowed down by then.
Yeah, and I also thought these were expensive at the time for me. I mean, so no, but I mean, I have seen them over the years and picked them up much later, and I do like the design of those 90s cards. So yeah, for people like us, it is enticing to want to go out and get a box of this new set because it's so much like the stuff that we remember in our prime collecting years, but with the current players. So I can see why it works. And if you're Upper Deck, in terms of the marketing, they might probably have seen an uptick in sales and they know that it's working until it's not. But yeah, but I can see why this is something they're increasingly beating the drum on. If you go back to listen to some of our past episodes, we've pointed this out, but as you pointed out in the earlier slide, like there is this clear, like, yeah, I see a trend here now. You know, 5 years into the decade, almost six years, there's definitely a trend, and yeah, but you know, it's a matter of like what's next, because at some point, you know, even Topps does this in baseball. they'll do like an anniversary design. It's like, oh, it's 40 years since 1971 top, so we'll create that, we'll recreate that design, and we'll, and that way Topps has more iconic designs to play off of, and Upper Deck unfortunately doesn't have as many. And so many of the hockey cards we loved were Topps, and that's a no-go zone here, right? So they can't even go back and say, yeah, let's reproduce 69. They can't do that, and so
No.
they're limited to creating new stuff, or but if they're gonna go back and remake stuff, then like remake OPG Premiere or something. Make that like
Well, here's the thing. Well, maybe they could with OPG Premiere because they own the OPG name, but they
right,
can't use old Topps designs
because that was owned by Topps. Yeah, so
they got into trouble for that with the 0809 OPG
yes,
hockey set, OPG hockey set. The retro cards,
yes,
the blue borders, they looked like the 7980 OPG set.
And those were bad. Yeah, they yeah. You're basically looking for a lawsuit.
Well, no, Topps actually sued them because they were using their old hockey design, and they I want to say they did it with baseball as well, but I don't know if that's true or not. But I know that that was a year that Upper Deck got in a lot of trouble. That was when they got sued by Konami because they were reprinting Yu-Gi-Oh cards in repacks, and they were Topps was after them. They just that was like around 0809. That was just like when it seems like everybody had a
they're breaking they're trying to break all the rules, or they were trying to see what they can get away with.
And sometimes that's okay. I mean,
no, that is okay, but yeah, so I can see why this has become more appealing.
Well, they own the IP, so they could use all these old Flair sets and Flair designs, and I mean, heck, they could take 86, 87 Flair basketball and make that a hockey product. Why not? They could take that design and make it a hockey product.
And maybe that's what they need to do more of, instead of take an old design that's iconic of any sport, because that happens with baseball sometimes. Whatever they own the IP of, go back and remake it with the current players. Instead of what I'm seeing here is this is just an inspiration. It's like, oh, it's inspired by this set that you may remember or may not remember, and we'll just put two pictures of the same guy on the front. One small, one big, one looking one way, one looking another, whatever, and we'll create this feel that people like us will clearly go like, oh, this scratches an itch of, oh yeah, it's like 95, and to like a young kid, they don't know, so they think it's a new design. I'm looking for something. I'm looking for something that's more identity of today. That's what I'm looking for. That's and like Flair. Like if you're gonna remake Flair, what's the Flair of the 2020s? I don't know. That's the big question.
I mean, this kind of is, because I mean, it's.
I guess this is. This is the 2020 version of. Because you're right. If you're saying the 2020s is all AI slop and memes, do we really want that in our cards? Probably not. Right.
Oh my God. It's like, hey, that hockey stick has 2 blades on it. And Crosby has 2 left gloves. What's going on here?
Yeah.
And Crosby and Malkin are hugging, but I'm not sure whose arm is whose. And where'd that extra arm come from?
Maybe that's what it is that you have to go back to past designs, because the modern designing has become so cheap. And just like photography, everyone's a photographer now. Everyone's got a cell phone in their pocket. Everyone can take a picture. I know I work with people, professional photographers. I was a reporter for many years. Professional photographers takes years and years of work. Not everyone thinks they're a photographer. Everyone can shoot video. Not everyone can shoot video. I'm sorry. Like, yeah, you can. Anyone can shoot a bad video that's shaky, but that scratches the itch of, oh, we need news coverage, and somebody happened to be recording when that fire erupted. Okay. But there's, when you look at professional photography, photos that win awards, Pulitzer prizes, like that's amazing photography. That not any Joe Blow can do that. And so between photography being cheapened, design being automated in many ways, you get to the point where like the car companies themselves are like, well, there's no current identity other than we can harken back. I just wish if you're gonna harken back, just get off the '90s. I mean, I love the '90s; they were great. I miss them, but I'm living in 2026, so I want something that is. If this was the only product that did that, I'd say fine. But like we said, every flagship insert card is a '90s thing. That's
Yeah,
all.
and so I'm gonna to the if anybody from Upper Deck is listening, and I know they listened, but they don't comment. But I'm gonna give you this. I'm gonna give you a money making idea. This is free. I'll just send me a case of the product, and we'll call it Square. Okay, hear me out on this. You take the 86-87 Flair basketball design, which is the Michael Jordan design, right? The Michael Jordan rookie year.
Yep.
Make a set of hockey cards. Hear me out on this. Make it of 86-87 players. You only need 131 players in a checklist, right?
No, we could do veterans and rookies if you wanted, right?
No. Just do a set like it came out in 86-87. It'll come out this year, but do a set, an 86-87 Flair hockey set. And use players from that who played in 85-86. So, they could do Gretzky, they could do Wah, they could do Mario Lemieux. I mean, they could put Mario in product, of course. He's not an exclusive. You could find 100-ish guys that would be in that set. It'd just be like you look at like the SP signature legends or one of those sets,
Sure.
And then just do it of 80s players. Use that design. You'd get people excited about it. Of course, you throw in autographs, whatever. But yeah, that would be cool because that would be kind of like, remember the when Parkhurst in the 90s was doing those sets that looked like they were from the 60s?
Yes.
Yeah. So same idea. Upper Deck, you got the IPs for Flair. Heck, use that Flair baseball design for something or that Flair basketball design for something. I mean, I think that would be fun. Instead of saying, we're going to use the 86 Flair on a 2026 product. No, make a throwback 86 product. That would be cool.
And that's the kind of throwback stuff that I think people would appreciate. It's just the incorporation of the current players with a design that isn't even exact. It's like inspired by. I mean, if they had copied it exactly, maybe that would work. But no, I guess we'll look at more cards more there. I'm just curious to see what their inserts look like.
Well, okay, so real quick, just the design of the fronts of these cards. So like the old Flair cards from the 90s, you got 2 photos on the front, and then you got a 3rd photo on the back. And I like that because you're getting some variety. I mean, we've probably seen a million times, same photo on the front, on the back, but smaller, right? Here you see these are different photos, right? We got one line of stats. That's okay though. They're letting the picture do the work here, and that's okay. At least they added this white box around the stats so they're legible. And you got the
gold blend into the if they blend it into the uniform, we'll never see it, right?
Yeah, and you got the gold foil stamping on the front, the name and the Flair logo, and then different photo on the back. You got your one line of stats. Okay, same with the rookie cards. And if the rookie cards, if they didn't play in the NHL last year, it just shows like their last junior team or college team or whatever. If they did like play one game in the NHL, then it would show like that one game or whatever stats. So wherever whatever the highest level they played at in 24-25. So here we got Michael Misa again, 2 different. I like the fact that this uses that this card uses all 3 uniform designs. You got the black 3rd jersey, got the white road jersey, you got the teal home jersey. I think this is a nice looking card.
Yeah, no, I agree that the photo usage is very good and very smart.
Yeah, they could have blurred out Wilford Brimley in the background, but
and I almost didn't notice him until you point. But you're right, it's true.
But now you can't unsee him.
It's true, the ghost of Wilford Brimley in the background. but the other thing too is that, as you know, they use 3 different photos. This is pricey.
Yes, and that's probably that's going to increase the expense.
Yep. That's why it's a premium product. It costs more because they got to buy 3 different photos as opposed to one and then reuse it on the back. So
right, yeah. I mean, it's easier if you just buy one photo,
Right.
and just reuse it
Yep.
for the front and back. And
Right.
hang
You
on
get
a
one.
second.
You get one price to do that, as opposed to here, you got to buy 3 separate photos from the same agency, whether it's Getty or AP or whoever they're buying images from.
Yeah, actually, real quick, just because this is on my mind right now. So this was in an article that I wrote in 2017. So this is 10 years old. This is old information, but still, this just kind of gives you a frame of reference. I actually went to try to buy a Getty image from a hockey game just to see what it would cost. And it says here,
I can
if
tell
you
you how much.
want to,
I can tell you how much it costs now.
oh, okay. Well, that's better then.
What did it cost 10 years ago? I'm curious.
So if I wanted a photo of a hockey player, like for instance, like I noted that the Pinnacle and Upper Deck cards of Patrick Kane from 11-12 use the exact same photo. 11-12. And so if you use the photo for a trade here, if you want to use a specific photo on a trading card that is sold in the US and Canada with a print run of 10,000 or more copies, your cost would be $480 USD for exclusive rights or $348 USD for non-exclusive rights. So what that means is that whatever company printed their card first, they said, "Oh, we're going to use that card on that photo on a trading card, but we're only going to pay $348 for non-exclusive rights and not $480 to be the only trading card company to use this photo."
Right. Yeah. So the way Getty Images today, so they have a very huge archive like AP, and so if you're looking for anything pre 1990 for one-time use, could be about $200. A single image costs $500 to be used once.
Like once in like a article?
Meaning, yeah, for example, or in this case, I guess once on a card, you can reproduce the card, obviously. But
got it. Okay, I see what you mean. So, not a card and a poster and a
right.
Trevor.
So, for example, if these 3 images cost $1,500 total, do the math. $1,500. I'm sure they got a deal because how many cards are in the set now?
200, yeah. So
200 times 3 times, now could they have spent that much money? I don't know. But what I'm saying is, even if they got a 350 deal instead of 500, it's still expensive.
yeah,
So
that definitely raises the production costs.
yeah, and so that I think a lot of people collect don't think of it like that. But
Yeah, plus the foil stamping, the thicker card stock, and then also the league licensing and the Players Association licensing.
Right, there's got to be some money here for Upper Deck to make. Otherwise, what? It's not charity work here.
Yeah, no, that's true. But
so,
that's good. Yeah, good
these
point.
are all really interesting. Kind of the anatomy of what goes into making a card, and this may explain the price point here, and also why they don't do this for flagship, for example.
Hey, but Upper Deck, if you want to put me on a hockey card, I will give you 3 photos
for
free. Yeah, and they actually have me playing hockey too, so it wouldn't just be me like podcasting.
Exactly.
Be like my business card where I'm playing hockey.
You in action, yeah.
Yeah, as a stay-at-home defenseman with no speed. Yeah, it's okay. It's funny. Those of you who've seen my Puck Junk business card, I remember like there's like one show promoter, and he has said like multiple times, he's like, "You've got the best." He's like, "Dude, you've got the best business card, like of all of everyone here." I take that as a compliment. And I remember another guy, he walked up and he took one of my business cards and he just said to me, kind of half shouting, because I was probably 10 feet away or whatever, he goes, "I don't even like hockey, but this business card is awesome." So you said you wanted to see some of the inserts. So here are some of the inserts. At least these are some of the ones that I got. There's a lot of other inserts. I just didn't have the time to get all of them, pictures of all of them. But the ones that I got in my box, so you have something called Artistic Flair, which is printed on like a chromium background. And that's actually a pretty tough pull, 1 in 125 packs. So yay, I guess. Hot Hues, I ended up pulling like, it says 1 in 8, but I ended up getting, I think, like 3 of them. Yeah, got like 3 of them. So I don't really think they're 1 in 8, but maybe, or I don't know, maybe you had a hot box or something. I don't think so, though. Scoring Power. So Scoring Power was one of those sets from the 90s. There's some insert sets that they reprise, like Hot Numbers, Wave of the Future, Scoring Power. Flash and Flair. So there's Flash and Flair, and then there's like one that's called Flash and Flair, and it's like parentheses Flash. And the other one is Flash and Flair, and in parentheses, it's Flair, right? So the one that's Flash, which is the one that you see, that one is an easier pull. That's 1 in 40 packs. And the one that says Flair, the cut is the opposite way. So the 2 cards actually fit together like a puzzle piece, if that makes sense. Like that tab that's sticking out on the right side, and then the other one has a tab at the bottom that's sticking out on the left side, and then they just kind of interlock, like if you remember like those was it the Upper Deck 3-star selects from the late 90s? It had like the die cutting where they would fit in each other, and I think there were a couple Pinnacle cards that did that as well from like the late 90s. So like same idea, only this is printed on like a clear like a see-through plastic. Like, like the typical PETG plastic. Yeah, clear cut, basically. Yeah, it's a neat looking card. I like it. I look at that and I go, oh, that's cool. I want to collect them all. And I go, oh, 1 in 40, 1 in 250 packs, right? And I'm just like, then you end up spending $60 on an insert card that you like but don't love.
No, but I do like the idea of them going together like a puzzle piece.
Yeah.
So at least that's original.
Yeah. No, I like that. Of course, the other ones they have like the gold foil stamping, and you got hot gloves, hot mitts, hot numbers, Wave of the Future, guaranteed fresh, Flair for the dramatic, center spotlight, 3-on-1 breakaway, autographics. So that's one of the types of autographs you can get. Not guaranteed an autograph per box. Autographics, those are 1 in every 3 boxes. And then there are autographed versions of some of these inserts, like Flair for the dramatic. And let's see here. Hot Hues has autographs. And what else? Rare Breed, that's another one. And that has regular autographed versions. And I guess the point is that those other ones are serial numbered. They're like out of 30 or out of 25 or out of whatever, right? So they're not like, so you might get one of those, or you might get one of the autographics, but you don't get one per box, unfortunately.
You know what's been bothering me about the trend recently is the price of boxes has increased.
Yeah.
But with that arrow pointing up, the chances of getting an autograph per box has decreased. I mean, basically, nobody guarantees you an autograph in a box anymore, even if it's of a player that isn't that good. It's like, have they stopped even making those autographs, or they just want the autograph to be so hard to get now that you can't even buy a box and get one now? And I'm not a big fan of that.
Yeah, I mean, my 2022 logic is not applying in 2026, but my whole mindset is if you spend $100, you should get an autograph. That's just how I feel, right? But of course, that was true in you look back to I even remember 13-14 Score had 1 autograph per box.
Right.
And I think those were $1 packs or $2 packs or something, and you still got 1 autograph per box. And then remember when Panini was they knew they were losing the hockey license,
yes,
and they started stuffing autographs and everything.
Yeah.
And I remember buying they were hanger boxes of Panini Contenders, and they were $20 or $30, and it had something crazy 4 or 6 autographs per box. But they were all the common players,
Sure.
I hate to say that, common player.
Yeah.
The average players, not your superstars.
Right.
But you were still getting, you know, a good number of autographs in a. I mean, that's an outlier because they
That's
were trying to
extreme. Yeah.
dump their autographs
No,
while
but
they still had the
But
license.
I meant even like in flagship up until like 3-4 years ago, you can get an autograph in a box.
I don't ever remember getting an autograph in flagship. Not saying it didn't happen. I'm just saying I don't remember it happening to me.
I remember getting autographs, and it was always either autograph or the relic. Maybe they're moving away from the relics. That's the thing.
Well, I remember getting like 3 relics in a box of Upper Deck Series 1 or Series 2.
Right.
And then eventually it became 2 and then became 1. Believe it or not, I mean, I've pulled autographs in Flair metal in blaster boxes.
Wow, that's pretty good.
Yeah, well, I think one year I bought something sick like 12 or 15. I bought a lot of blasters.
So you're
I was really trying to complete that set, and like the hobby boxes were something like $200 or $300, and I did the math, and like for like that same amount of money, I was able to get like 3 times the cards.
Right.
Even though the odds were longer, but then I still ended up hitting autos because I bought so many blasters.
Yeah, just the whole retail we don't want to go there.
Well, yeah, I mean, I think retail is okay for certain products. Like I tend to do it with metal, and I'm not disappointed. And usually with metal, there's some incentive. They usually have some sort of purple parallels that are only found in retail blasters or something like that. So there's usually some like upside to it. But also it's just a good way for me to like fill out my set because I believe it or not, I do build sets. I know you do you build sets anymore?
I just do flagship now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, parallels. Okay. So at first I thought, oh, purple and green parallels, but they're actually called back check and forecheck. And they are numbered out of 199 for back check, which has like a magenta foil stamping instead of the gold foil stamping, and then forecheck, which are numbered out of 349, and those have like a green stamping. And thankfully, they also say, I love the fact that now they add the name of the parallel, because I wouldn't say we'd argue, but we'd be like, is this a black rainbow or a rainbow black? Is this a green or is it a jade? Or is it an emerald, right? Like we didn't know what. So when they just say, nope, it's an emerald, you go, okay, cool. But now they just say it's a forecheck, and you're like, oh, okay. Like I can't. I mean, I guess that's fine. I mean, as Tim has pointed out, they need to put more hits in boxes for the breakers. So this Lucas Raymond now is a hit, I guess, because it's numbered out of 199. Right. Speaking of hits, so the box that I ended up opening had a printing plate. I didn't get an autograph. I did get a printing plate, which are ones of ones. I seem to get printing plates more frequently these days than I do autographs, which is weird.
That is strange. I'm not anti-printing plate, but I like autographs better.
Yeah, I think last year I got 2, and this year so far I've gotten 1. So, I mean, I've gotten autographs also, but and that's probably not true. I've definitely gotten more autographs, but that's if you look at everything. But just in like a product like this, this or Flair metal, I seem to be pulling. Sorry, Skybox metal. I seem to be pulling printing plates a little more frequently. The other parallel is the 93 retro, and which is weird for the reason that they didn't make these cards in 93. And these don't even look like the 95s, because the 95s have that big gold like foil stamp. I had one right in front of me. Had that big gold foil stamp at like the bottom, with like the players, their like last initial, so the 93 retros are numbered out of 93. They show the full statistics. They use 3 photos. That's not bad. That's pretty cool.
Right.
Unfortunately, not realistic to track them all down. And of course, I look at that. You know what this looks like to me? You probably would know it, or you'd know it if I told you.
No, what?
Don't those look like those top gold label cards from the late 90s?
Yes.
You know, where you had
Which,
like you
yeah,
know what I'm talking about.
they made them for baseball. I mean, I remember.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I look at that and I don't think Flair, I think gold label,
Mm.
you know, but I mean, that's okay. I mean, everybody was doing 2 or 3 photos, or not everybody, but
But
it seemed like all the companies had at least one set where they're like, well, we're going to put as many photos as we can on this card.
it's like a montage, essentially.
Yeah. Which is, I guess it's okay. It's something different. I mean, we liked it because once
It was
upon a time, that's how we just saw the players.
it was also different. I mean, yeah, it was also new then. Yeah.
But I think of like those old Score and Pinnacle cards where they had the action shot on the front and they had the yearbook photo on the back. And I mean, like the literal like yearbook
Yeah.
photo from like the team media guide where it
Right.
was Brett Hall without a helmet, you
Yeah.
know, or whomever, right? And so that really helped you recognize the players. So I liked that, you know, and that's, you know, you couldn't necessarily get a media guide from all the teams and you didn't have an internet to look up what they looked like.
Yeah, and we forget, you know, unlike or like football, hockey is a sport where guys are wearing helmets. Now you can see their faces for the most part, but yeah, nonetheless, seeing them without the helmet on is helpful. And but kind of curious to if they went back to that at some point, even though there is no such thing as a media guide now. I mean, it's just all the PDF file for reporters, but you know, but they all take, you know, that passport photo, I call it, you know, basically.
Yeah, I mean, they got them on the NHL website. They got them
Yeah.
on the ESPN
Yeah.
website. They got
Yeah.
the passport photo. And I wouldn't mind hockey cards doing that again.
And those, because they're part of the license, those may also come in cheap or free because it's like, well, you took them already. Like we can use it, right? Like it's the media can use those photos. It's not like those are meant to be reused. I mean,
For the media, yeah.
Yeah,
But, I mean, Upper Deck would have to pay for them, but
sure.
I wouldn't mind it. If like looking at this Sean Couturier card, if that back was just a headshot, I wouldn't be like, oh, that's terrible. I'd be like,
No.
oh, that's cool. You know, if you really want to make something feel 90s, go back to what they were doing in the 90s. You know, I mean, yeah, you could foil stamp the heck out of something, but
You know,
like,
flagship can do that. They could have an action shot in the front, and the back could be just a headshot. That would be kind of like wow. Like it would at least it would be inspired by the past, but it would be so different for today that it would feel new again. And so I don't know. That means something to think about. Or they did that here, for example. They could have done that here. But something to think about. I mean, I think ultimately they want people to have action. They want action shots because they think it's boring, just a guy's face. But you know, you get to see what he looks like, and the photo's there. You know, they take them for a reason.
yeah.
So,
I mean, they could do the action on the front and the,
Yeah.
you know, and it could be
Yeah, the front-
business on the back. You know,
yeah, the front could be like every card should be like canvas. Like there should be some amazing photo. I think about, is it Celebrini?
Mhm.
Like in canvas, he's coming out of like a shark's head.
Yep.
You know, like that's like a really great photo. It's a great card, but it's a canvas card. It doesn't need to be canvas. It could be just regular, you know, and it could be amazing. But
I need that Connor Bedard canvas young gun where he's holding up his regular young gun. I need that. I need that card. I don't know. Hawks missed the playoffs. Maybe this is my last chance to get that card and not pay a ton for it because
maybe.
I don't know. I mean, it's meta, you know. I mean,
is meta.
he's holding his own hockey card, and it's a hockey card on a hockey card.
Yeah, I don't remember too many cases of that. Maybe ever.
Well, I give you 2 examples just because I wrote about them. Not in the game. In the game, Brian Price's old company, before he started President's Choice. So in the game, had a Between the Pipe set, and there was a card of Marc-Andre Fleury, and it was a close-up of his goalie mask. And painted on his goalie mask were some in the game cards of Fleury. So he had his own cards painted on his mask.
And they were in the photo.
And they were in the photo. So it was like they weren't actual hockey cards on the card, but they were paintings of hockey cards. Close enough, right?
Yep.
And then oh God, who was it? Was it Pat Elnuik owned a card store in the 90s, and his 92-93 Stadium Club card has him standing at the counter of his store, and he has a bunch of Topps cards spread out on the counter in front of him. You know, and I want to say they did the same thing for a Pinnacle Sidelines card of him, but they put like scorecards instead of Topps cards.
Right,
So
right.
yeah, now I'm really stretching back in time.
No, because you see players holding up like a puck if it's like their 100th goal or something. Like you've seen those photos.
Yeah,
It's kind of cool to have him holding a card, and it's cool. And and you can say, well, I don't have his rookie card, but I have picture of him holding his rookie card in another rookie card, the canvas version. So yeah, no, it's it's interesting. Some of that stuff is, look, a lot of these designs are predicated on the photography that already exists out there,
Right.
and that also matters, as opposed to like in the 90s when a lot of these companies were actually paying their own photographers to go to games and shoot, and that was much more expensive. Obviously, you had to pay a photographer a wage, and you can only get so many players at so many different arenas and get so much variety and diversity anyway. So now they have databases, thousands of photos, and they can pick and choose. But that gives them a little more leeway in design. But yeah, it's there's a lot that goes into the production of these cards, and so it's easy for us to say yay, nay. But yeah, it's a matter of, this set at least pushes the boundary a little bit by giving us lots of different photos of the same player, and that's something that you don't see a lot of cards doing, a lot of sets
So just doing a wrap up of Flair. The good, the bad, the ugly, right? So the good, it's a relatively small set, 200 cards, right? So not impossible to complete. It's not a 600 or 700 card set. I mean, I don't think they could really afford to make that anyways, because that would just be ridiculous with all the photos and such. But so it is attainable, and the RCs are not short prints. RCs are not SPs, so I think that's good, because if you got like 2 rookie cards per box and they were serial numbered out of 99 or some nonsense, forget it. You know what I mean? So yeah, you have a shot at building this set. Maybe you wait long enough and you can buy one online. I haven't seen one cheap enough for me to pull the trigger and buy it. I don't know if I'm going to really buy a bunch of boxes of this. But yeah, so that, so the RCs are not short prints. You get 3 unique photos per card. I think that's a big plus. You got thick cardstock, a glossy finish to them, foil stamping. So it really has like a nice premium feel. This is a nice card. I mean, this is not fragile. And it's like the opposite of O-Pee-Chee, which we'll talk about in an upcoming week, where that's like the thinner cardstock and the lack of gloss, and you could snap them like a twig, and then nostalgia, right? I mean, if you like that 90s aesthetic, it does that for you. It does that here. And that's not always a good thing, not always a bad thing, but if you like it, it's definitely a good thing. But the bad, though, is that you don't get a guaranteed autograph in a box. I'm going to say maybe 1 in every 3 boxes. Maybe the odds are a little better than that because they're the numbered autographs that you can also get. But then the ugly is the price. And I ask, is this really a $22 per pack product or $5.50 per card? I mean, that's just the messed up thing. And this applies at all price points, right? You buy a pack of O-Pee-Chee, it's say $5. You get 10 cards. Okay. So your common card should be 50 cents, but what is your common card worth?
Right.
Nothing, right? You can't even.
No, you can't even put it's 10 cents. It's nothing. 5 cents, nothing.
It's 5 cents or 10 cents, because even though 25 cents would be fair, you'd say, well, shoot, I need 100 of these to finish my set, but I'm not going to spend $25 on a bunch of commons, right? It's hard, or maybe you do. I don't know. I usually just try to buy a base set. But yeah, I guess that's the thing. Like, you'd look at this and you'd break it and you say, all right, well, these should be $5 cards, but they're not. I mean, maybe they are. I don't know. I didn't really look too much at the. Actually, I'll take a look real quick. I don't know if you got any thoughts about any of this.
Well, I can't imagine that a common base card in this set is worth $6 anywhere on ComC or on eBay. I mean, it's not. If it's a rookie card, it could be worth $10, $15, and if it's a common, it's not worth anything. It's worth whatever you want to pay for it. I mean, I can picture a dealer just saying, "Hey, you can have these." Like, like I'll take $5 for 20 of these or whatever. Like, I don't know they're worth anything. They're not worth.
Looks
posting.
like, sorry,
I mean,
looks like they're $1.99 to maybe $10 if it's like Crosby.
Okay, so they're basically $2, and that's already
$2,
probably
yeah.
that's already probably high, but they're not $5.50. So now the price is half, less than
Yeah.
half, and that's at a high. $2 is expensive. These on ComC will be worth, if you find them, even I would say probably $1.60.
Well, this is if they end up on EPAC, which I don't know if they are, honestly.
That's another story, but yeah. But if they do, then they're worth pennies. You can get them for 10 cents, 5 cents.
Yeah,
and you'll be able to complete your set, for very little. If not, then they're worth a couple extra bucks, and then it's a matter of trying to piece it together, and that may or may not be worth it, but it's doable at least. So, but I think the way you price it, like you pay this much per pack, this much the cards are worth, I don't think the companies look at it that way. The companies are looking at it as that you're paying this much per pack for the chance of getting an autograph and other goodies and inserts and numbered cards, and that's just the gamble you're willing. That's the entry point. That's the price point for this scratch off game that you want to play. That's what I think the way they price it. They're not saying it's not worth $5.50 a card, because some cards are worth 10 and some worth nothing. So it's just I mean, and we know that when you open a box, you don't get the value of the box, and that's not the way. The equation doesn't work that way anymore. No one
never does. I mean, it did. Man, I'm sorry. I hate to say it, like in the 50-cent pack day, but it did, because you'd get 10 or 15 cards in a pack, and you're spending about 50 cents a pack, and a nickel a card was what a common card was. I mean, it was just kind of understood, right?
But there's always that $5 card or $8 card,
right?
Like
right.
A rookie or something, right?
It was worth the risk.
Yep.
Yeah, exactly. But now it's like you buy a box for $2. You look at this box, right? Like the best card I got was a Brian Russ printing plate. That's like maybe a $50 card, right?
Right.
If I look at that Barkov artistic flair, let's take a look at this. Okay, here's one for $40. Let's go to sold listings. I mean, look, it's not always about money. Okay, $4.25. Okay, but then another one for $36.39. That's weird.
Right.
So it's either a $4 card or a $36 card. Oh, here's another one for $30.
So
okay.
It's a big range.
But it's the newer one that went for $4. But I mean, so maybe it's a $30 card. What do? You throw away the high and the low. Matthew Kachuk, $25. So I don't know. I mean, it's yeah. You never get your unless you get that big hit. You never.
And you're paying this much for the box for the opportunity to maybe get that hit, and that's
right.
The gap between what you're paying and dream is a huge gap. So, and it makes buying boxes much harder. We've gotten to the world. We're in a world today where these boxes are priced for people that break, but I still want to open my own cards. It's part of the fun of collecting. It's not so some guy can do it on YouTube and I can watch him do it. That's just not as interesting to me as I can do it myself, but the prices have gotten so outrageous, it gets harder and harder to do. So you're right. The ugly is the cost, and the way you do the math, it's fair because you have to think of it that way. Think of it. Should I pay this much per pack? Like if you went to a store, hobby shop, and you said, I'll just take a pack of that, they'd probably charge you $20 for it, right? Easily.
Right.
And And then you're like, wow, that's a lot of money for whatever amount of cards I'm gonna get in here, and sometimes I'll do that. I'll go into a hobby shop and just buy a pack of this, a pack of that, like I used to in the 80s, because I want to get a flavor for it. And obviously,
Right.
not because I think I can, get a hit. Because the odds are really small. I mean, if you get a box and you can't get a hit, let alone one pack, but just to get an idea of the design, the feel of it. Maybe I don't want to buy a box and I'll buy, one pack, see what's in there, and then say, okay, well, this is not for me. But and also keep hobby shops in business. I always like to go in there, and I hate to just look around like it's a museum and walk out. I'm like, yeah, let me just, but
You
can
want to buy something, but it gets hard. It gets
does.
harder and harder.
It does, because you walk in and you buy 3 packs from 3 different sets, and it's like $38. Like, well, I just bought 3 packs of cards. I don't know what happened, but what just happened now.
What just happened? I'm $40 poor and I have 12 cards.
Yeah, and they're worth, I don't know,
$12.
maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Well, you got one that was worth 5, one that was worth 4, and then the rest are commons.
And this is why when you go to the National and you walk around, you find piles of cards everywhere, because people are just like, these are not worth my time. And I don't want to get in a world where some cards are when we grew up, some cards are worth more than others, but a card was never something you threw in the garbage at all.
No.
It's like a book. You don't throw books in the garbage, you give them away,
Right.
And so so that's how I think. That's how I approach it. And these sets, it gets harder and harder to have that. My mindset is stuck 30 years behind. The designs they're from 30 years ago, but definitely the mindset has to be different, because it doesn't match with the financial realities of today.
Yeah. Oh, one thing I would say, though, that's good that I forgot to put on the screen here, but I'll just say it, is that you do get one insert per pack, insert or parallel. So you're not getting 4 base cards. That was always depressing when you open a pack and it's just like, well, this one's all base.
Well, they moved away from that.
Huh?
They moved away from that even in Flagship a couple of years ago, because people were like, oh, just base cards, it's boring.
Well, I appreciate that, because I remember, like, not even just with Flagship, but with the other sets where you go, okay, you got something in every other pack, right? So it's like, okay, so this pack was just the base cards. This pack had the insert. This pack had base cards. This pack had the rookie card. You know what I mean? Like, it's so now at least you kind of have something to look forward to in each pack. And I like base cards. I like building sets, but yeah, and I do complain. I am guilty of complaining that there are too many inserts out there, but I don't, because you only get like 10 inserts or parallels in this box. I didn't feel that. I think if anything, I was maybe a little annoyed that I got that 3 of those same what are these called? The Hot Hues cards, right? Like I wasn't really expecting to get 3 of them in the box, but I did, and I would have maybe liked to get different ones, but whatever. Yeah, I still think that's good though. 1 per pack. Yeah, that's okay. Final thoughts.
I mean, my final thought is, nice design. The nostalgia box has been checked. I like the multi photos, but ultimately, I don't think the set's for me, in the sense that it's a little pricey. But I think the price is in line with what they're giving you. I mean, the card stock is good. It's well designed. It's got multiple photos, so I understand some of that. But ultimately, in this massive universe of 90s nostalgia cards, this one just it gets lost in the shuffle of so many sets that are doing this. So I don't know. I'm hoping for something different. I feel like it gets harder and harder to talk about sets on here, because they all start to look the same to me. Especially the inserts here look like it could be from any other hockey set from the past 5 years.
Yeah, other than the players changing on the cards, or maybe the uniforms changing or something, there's no. Yeah, we say like
the distinguishing factor. That's all.
Yeah, like this era doesn't really have a design aesthetic. At least if it does, maybe you can't recognize the aesthetic until after the decade is passed. But
maybe.
Yeah, I agree with you. It's either like nondescript or just a lot of 90s rehash, which I like, but yeah, there's no originality in that. Which I don't think you buy this set for originality necessarily, but I don't know. I mean, I like it enough that I want the set, but I don't like it enough that I'm going to buy boxes of it to try to put together like I would with Metal Universe. Because Metal Universe, I'll make the exception for that because I really like Metal Universe. But this set, I kind of put it in like the same regard, or maybe a step lower than the EX 2000 set. Like,
Right.
I like that set a lot, but I was not going to break the bank building one, and I bought the complete set, and I'm glad that I did because it was cheaper than, I think I paid less for the set than I would have a box. You know what I mean? So, which is sad, and that's just how it is sometimes. And if the economics doesn't work one way, it'll work the other way, right? Like, it'd be like, well, I don't want to spend $1,000 to build the set, but I could spend $200 and buy a base set or buy the full set, and that's okay too. You know what I mean? And of course, the seller's not making a lot of money, but like I said, it cuts both ways. And if they built sets, they probably opened a lot of packs, and they probably hopefully got a lot of enough hits to justify the endeavor. So yeah, I mean, like I said, for me, it's something me personally, I'm going to try to track this down as a complete set. I like the design. I like the cards. I do like the fact that they look 90s, even though 90s is being done to death at this point. No, I was excited when these came back, but this is not the kind of thing that I'm going to break. All right, then. I think I'll just wrap it up here. So, thank you for listening to the Puck Junk Hockey Podcast. As always, if you've enjoyed the show, please be sure to like and subscribe. Please be sure to tell people that you know about this awesome hockey and hockey card podcast. The more listeners, the better. If you'd like to support this podcast, you can do so by purchasing a t-shirt at shop.puckjunk.com. And if you like to read, check out the newsletter at puckjunk.com/newsletter. And until next time, collect what you like.